Hi and welcome. I've got a very exciting review today with an early look at WinWing's new F16 ICP and DED combo. This video is sponsored by WinWing. They sent me this unit for review purposes. I will remain objective and focus on the facts and features, but I will say from my initial use of this, they've really knocked it out of the park with this ICP. At the time of this video, WinWing has stated the price for this will be $195 US, including shipping and tax. Compared to the current alternatives, nothing comes close when trying to purchase even just the ICP by itself, let alone a functioning DED. When comparing this to other button boxes, it's even a really competitive price point. Going over the physical features of this unit, the button layout portion of the ICP is an exact replica of the Block 50 F16 that is used in DCS and Falcon BMS. In order to combine the DED into the unit, WinWing took design cues from the Block 60 F16, where the DED was moved to be part of the ICP. While occasionally this doesn't match perfectly with what you experience in game, I think it was a great idea to give you the DED interface as part of the ICP, making it one clean unit that also saves you a USB slot. The buttons and axes are nearly identical to the Block 50 ICP layout. There's only one minor deviation to give users an extra button. To start with, we have 23 momentary press buttons. The big surprise for me when receiving this unit is that all the momentary press buttons are silicone rather than a more rigid plastic. I'm not sure the exact reasoning behind this, but to WinWing's credit, these caps are extremely well made. The text etching is nearly flawless, and it lets the backlight come through well. There's good travel on the buttons. I don't really have any concerns that I'll accidentally press a key without intending to. The silicone caps are also rigid enough that you get a very positive feedback click when using them, both physically and audibly. The one concern I have is I do wonder that after a long time of use, if the text etchings will begin to wear. However, the ICP is not what I'd call a high wear item. While you do use it a lot, there are not a lot of quick or repetitive inputs. It's usually very deliberate. Another nice feature with the buttons that is true to life of the real ICP is the single notched bump above the 5 key and the double notch bumped above the 9 key. This will really come in handy if using this ICP when playing in VR, as you can use the notches to orient your fingers. Moving on, there's 4 axes on the thumb wheels on the outside of the unit. These are incredibly well done. There's a good amount of damping resistance, so it's very easy to be precise with these. Each axis has a travel of 220 degrees with a resolution of 4095. Another cool thing here is the wheel scale markings. If you can see that here, they're very clean and well done, and they're not actually painted. You can see here that the mold of the wheel itself is hollow and has gaps, which is really impressive on a unit of this price. Moving on to the switches, we have 2 metal 3-way switches. The gain switch is a standard 3-way position, and the warning reset has a momentary on when pushing it downward, which is true to life of the real aircraft. Finally, we have the dobber switch down here. This is one of my favorite features of this ICP. When you look at the dobber in game, you can see it's a very long travel switch, probably closest to an analog hat, but I would bet it's its own unique switch in the real aircraft. Now, WinWing used a 4-way hat switch with press, and this is where you get that extra button I was talking about. And they used a custom molded dobber switch that they made. You can see here though, it's really high quality and smooth plastic. As I mentioned, the dobber is mounted to a 4-way hat switch. But what's cool is that you can see it actually takes the full travel to the edge before it, you maybe can't hear it, but I can feel it clicking once you get to it. This is very similar to how the real dobber functions. The screen for the DED is a 200 by 65 dot matrix display, baked in the unit as part of the HID device. This means that Windows doesn't use it as a monitor. As you can see here, the choice of using a dot matrix display makes the font really close to how the actual DED looks. The screen brightness can also be adjusted separate from the backlight brightness. WinWing really went all out with a variety of mounting options for this unit, and they're all included as part of the price. This is something I personally really appreciate, as I've probably spent close to as much on mounting solutions as I have on actual flight sim hardware. Now in the current configuration, this is the desktop mount, which sits at about a 50-degree angle. Now you can actually flip these mounts around, giving it a more shallow, now obviously you would remove it, but a closer to a 10-degree angle if you wanted something like that. Moving on to the mounts themselves, you can see they have a variety of clearly marked labels for different applications. Now for my sim pit, I actually removed these wings here and mounted it directly using these mounting points on here onto a special panel that I use. This was super easy to do the mounting points though, and didn't really have any problem adapting it. Other options you could do too, using either these screws back here or some of the screw options on the wings, would be to 4080 Aluno hardware like MonsterTech offers. You could mount either bar here or here. The mounting wings included here also interface with WinWing's F16 MIP mounts. Now you can either do a more permanent attachment using the screws, but something really awesome WinWing did was they included these brackets here and these two hand tightening wing nuts. Now what that does is you can actually kind of like mount these, I don't know the exact thing, I think it's something like either this or this here, but basically what it does, and it's clearly outlined in the instructions, is you can create a mounting solution where you actually fold the ICP out of the way and to reveal the F18, central console display. And then, so that way when you're flying the Hornet, you can have that and you just loosen the nuts, swing it back over and tighten them, and you have the F16 ICP now there. So really awesome if you're switching between the two different aircraft.
Software for the ICP is all integrated in WinWing's SimApp Pro Software, which you'll be familiar with if you've owned any other WinWing product. It's extremely easy to use and user-friendly, and it also has a few nice features, along with syncing with DCS, of course. Please note that the software I'm using while recording this is a beta version, so it may be different or some of the features may change when it releases. Now the software gives you some options for both backlight here and screen brightness. You can see here we can open these up and you can sync it to DCS so that when you change those settings in game, it will read from the game and update your physical device. You can also bind it to physical axes of any device. So if you had, if you wanted to control it with a button box you had, you can very easily do that. And of course, you can also use the sliders here to just manually set it to what you would like. There's also a few options here, these LCD options for changing the static display of the screen. By default, all of the dots on the dot matrix are on in a low green glow. There's a couple options to turn half of them off, all of them off, and as you saw in the previous video, there's a little standby that kind of mimics what the list screen in the DED looks like, so you can have it display that. Syncing the DED to DCS is really painless. All you have to do is set two settings in your SimApp Pro, your install path and your user data or saved games path. Once you've done that, all you have to do is keep SimApp running, launch DCS, and voila, our DED is now reading directly from DCS. So I'll give us a little bit of a zoom in here and show a couple options. So we can go to our bingo, and you can see here there's, oops, that was IFF, apologize. There we go, bingo. And so you can see there's very little, I can't even notice a delay at all when setting these items. So we go back here, you can see we can set our degrees, we can update our steer points. Really, I mean, it's one of the easiest setups I've done for a peripheral like this. It's great.
So as far as who this is for, the target audience is pretty clear. This is for DCS and BMS players who want an upfront control panel to replicate the F16s. Maybe for more hardcore simmers who build full cockpits, this may not be the right choice, simply due to the fact that they combined the DED and the ICP in a Block 60 fashion, and if you're trying to make a one-to-one cockpit sim, you would want those units separate. You could even use this as a standalone button box for other games, and it's honestly priced really well for that application. But you wouldn't really be able to do much with the dot matrix display, if at all. So, in conclusion, I think WinWing has knocked it out of the park with this. I myself am an F16 fan when it comes to flying in DCS, and I'm very excited to see this niche of kit come into the WinWing family. Nothing comes close in terms of price point here for what you get. Pairing this with the WinWing's force sensing F16 stick and their F16 throttle, and you have an amazing F16 sim experience pretty much ready out of the box. What I'd like to see them do is expand on this line more, maybe create some sort of F16 MIP system to use F16 style MFDs with screens to complete the whole package. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you appreciate this review, and if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments.